There we go. Okay, let's jump right into it. So, if you've been following the drama, I put that giant quotey fingers because usually drama between streamers and stuff is pretty mundane. He said, she said garbage that nobody should actually care about, but it's a lot of entertainment, so people pay attention to it. This isn't that. Brian W. Foster, formerly with Critical Role, things got worse. So let's look at it. Now, for those unfamiliar, Brian Foster was accused of abusing his now ex-fiancée, Ashley Johnson, extortion, and a few other accusations, largely seemingly to stem from drug abuse. Not an excuse for his actions, but a complicating factor, shall we say. Which was bad. Right? Innocent until proven guilty and all that, but Ashley Johnson did what everybody says abused victims should do and went to the police and got a restraining order, and a bunch of stuff came out, and I don't think anybody's really disputing the facts of the case too much, other than, Brian Foster and his lawyer, likely. But yeah, it's one of those cases where it's just battle around, and yeah. So now in the process of all of that, Critical Role quickly started wiping everything of theirs off the internet that had Brian Foster in it. So all of the old Talks Machina stuff, all of my favorite show on Critical Role, outside of Critical Role proper, Between the Sheets, as well as Undeadwood, gone. I'm starting to see why. They might have heard rumblings of this happening, because it is beyond just him abusing his ex-fiancée. Now he's being accused of abusing quite a few other people. But don't take my word for it. Let's look at this article here. So a lawsuit has actually been filed. So this is no longer a restraining order that had him in court and whatnot. This is a lawsuit with multiple complainants, if that's the right word, I believe. And it is worse than just the initial Ashley Johnson being abused. Like I said, there is, as they say here, one of the accusers. There's more people involved. So when he left Critical Role, this was quite a few years ago now, right? August of 2021. There's a lot of speculation. A lot of people, like, he made it sound like it was not a amicable split. Like, he wanted to stay on and they were kind of booting him. I don't know. Again, I can't speculate too hard, although I'm going to throughout this. I don't know if it had anything to do with what he's being accused of now. At the time, the general consensus was he was getting into a bit of mischief on Twitter and kind of riling up some trolls and stuff. And, he went on to even defend Critical Role in some Twitter threads and stuff after that. If my memory serves, I don't follow Twitter too much. So, yeah, it seemed to be, as far as booting somebody off, right? Previous times where they've had to kick somebody at a Critical Role, they didn't make a lot of pomp and circumstance around it. They just said, he's not here anymore. We don't really want to talk about it. Similar here, except they'd said like a goodbye tweet to him and every now and then Ashley Johnson would show up on his stream and stuff like that. Usually just in the background. And yeah, his tweet has been deleted. I think like his entire social media account vanished after this started. Yeah, like I've tried to look him up since this because originally I thought it was just a I was often saying I hope he gets the help he needs because I thought it was a him in an abusive relationship that even Ashley Johnson was saying the drugs are a large part of the problem. It's sounding more like Brian is, and there were a factor. Because again, I don't like to ever use substance abuse as an excuse for somebody's actions, but it can play quite a role. Because as they say right here, fueled by drugs and alcohol, wildly inappropriate, unwanted sexual comments. That was part of the original restraining order. He's been accused of domestic violence, intentional infliction of emotional distress, sexual battery and assault, and stalking. All bad. That's like horrendous. That's the part that I had heard about, and again, she was saying that this was fueled by drugs and alcohol. And yeah, my previous stance was I hope that he gets the help he needs and that Ashley gets to go on and heal and live her life very, very far away from him. Yeah, but it sounds like it's even worse. So, they say he groped, or the lawsuit says rather, not they. I can be a little more specific. Groped a Critical Role employee during a live event in 2020. Another plaintiff alleges Foster groped her and forcibly attempted to stick his hands down her pants while sitting in the audience of another event in 2019. Another Critical Role employee claims Foster demanded explicit photos of her and groped her during a coffee run in 2019, attempted to grope her again in 2021. Now, I have strong suspicions. I have strong suspicion that Critical Role didn't know this was going on, at least to the extent of what was happening. Now, in their statement, they say they had no knowledge of his behavior. They are working with their HR team and staff directly to ensure our workplace culture live up to all of our expectations. Now, why do I say I believe him on this? Well, one, I don't think if they knew that he had previous issues like this, or was accused of previous misconduct like this, they would have kept him on. He wasn't a big enough figure in the Critical Role sphere that anybody would bother risking the entire shebang for him. And on top of that, yeah, again, I need to pull back my speculations a bit because I've got some very strong opinions and very strong guesses on this, but I'm putting things out on the internet, so I need to be a little more tact. Which is why I'm not calling him a whole bunch of horrible things and saying alleged a lot and stuff like that. I personally believe he likely did a lot of this stuff, but hasn't been proved in court, so all alleged. And it's really aggravating because I was a big fan of Brian W. Foster. I liked his sense of humor. I liked his story. Again, Between the Sheets, I some of the best interview content, I think, on the internet. I liked his stuff, and now it sounds like he's a horrible human being. Again, even knowing that Ashley Johnson herself is saying like this was fueled by drugs and alcohol, her words, not an excuse. It's just a factor. So I can't justify continuing to like Brian Foster's stuff. I don't know if I'd ever be able to bring myself to watch his stuff again if they didn't delete it off of Critical Role. Chances are, what I've heard, the rumor of why they took it off of Critical Role wasn't necessarily to do with any of these incidences. Necessarily, they might have got rumblings like, "Hey, there's a lawsuit coming. We don't want to be involved with this person at all." That they might have known, right, in the past few months, because this all went down in March of 2023, where some of these accusations are dating back 2020, 2019, 2021, 2019, right? These are all quite a bit older. So they might have got word, hey, this is a big, serious problem. If there was an investigation going on, it's for the better that they didn't mention any of this, because you want to leave it to the police and lawyers to investigate and keep your head out of it if you were not part of the lawsuit, which Ashley Johnson is. So them poisoning the well a bit by using their internet presence to announce any of these accusations would have actually made it potentially harder to get a conviction if they get one. So I don't blame them for not mentioning it. However, pulling all of his stuff off, if they're aware of this, makes perfect sense, because he would be potentially getting royalties and whatnot. That was like the initial guess, is that if Foster's contract had he gets paid royalties, does Critical Role really want to be writing him checks after everything that he did to Ashley Johnson, allegedly? I wouldn't want to either. But again, they may have also then got word that no, this goes far beyond that, and we need to cut all ties so that when that story breaks, we are not still platforming somebody with multiple seemingly credible accusations. Again, everything is an accusation, everything is alleged. I have my personal thoughts on the matter, but I am not a lawyer. Anyway, the other reason, though, segueing back to where I previously segued away from, the other reason I believe Critical Role probably didn't know about these necessarily has to do more with the nature of incidences like this. I made a video or a live stream previously on this, and I misspoke a few times, so I didn't put it on the channel itself. Plus, it felt a little bit weird because, again, it was all accusation stuff. Ashley Johnson hadn't put out any statements about it other than, the restraining order was accessible to the public. So that's how everything kind of got out. It felt a little sleazy to be doing a video on the subject, but I also wanted to make sure we can learn from situations like these. And one of the biggest things that I've learned in the past year, because I helped out at an event for my local crisis shelter, and I was doing the audio, so I got to hear all of the speeches. Oftentimes, victims of domestic violence, it takes 7 attempts, or an average of 7 attempts, for them to leave an abuser. That's not 7 instances of abuse before they call it quits. That's 7 attempts to leave. So it sounds like a lot of the abuse or alleged abuse was going on for a while, and that's kind of the point that I wanted to get across. And I just didn't speak it as well as I would like. I hope I'm doing better this time. If I don't, well, then I just won't put this up on the channel either, and just leave it up as a live stream. But yeah, incidents like these have a lot of nuance of why victims don't come forward, right? Similar to how long it takes for a abuse victim to leave an abusive relationship, right? A lot of people say that, Well, if that ever happened to me, I'd be gone in an instant. And it's far more complicated than that. Or like, why wouldn't she leave right away? Well, it's far more complicated than that, right? Anytime stuff like this comes up. So in terms of this stuff, like 2019, Critical Role was already huge at that point. And Brian Foster was involved with Ashley Johnson at the time, one of the biggest names in the show. One of the reasons the show got started in the first place. So imagine you're in the audience and this dude tries to stick his hands down your pants, allegedly. And then you, like, he doesn't, but very much tries. So then you go home that night and you're thinking, what the heck do I do? Right? There's a lot of things going on probably in this person's head of like, if I come out on this, I have no evidence and people love this guy. Right? That's often how a lot of celebrities, I wouldn't necessarily call Brian Foster a celebrity, but in terms of like an internet celebrity, like he's got some clout, he's got people behind him. There's risks of getting internet harassment and stuff if you're the one who comes out and says he did this to me, and again, without necessarily being able to present evidence other than this is my account of it. It's very difficult to have anything come of it, and there's a lot of risk in terms of harassment and abuse online. So I don't fault this person for not coming forward until other allegations come out. That frequently happens where somebody either has like a last straw moment in an industry in terms of they've left a trail of people they've abused, and one person has heard about it, and they come forward, and then you hear about the other abuses or abused people before that now feel they can come out and tell their story. That happens frequently. So there's a good chance that this person never mentioned this to anybody, especially anybody at Critical Role. Same thing with the staff member, because we don't know who the staff member is. They could still work there. And they say another Critical Role employee. Which is interesting wording. Groped a Critical Role employee at a live event in 2020. Okay, so yeah, there's 2 Critical Role employees that they claim to, and it's one of those things, again, from what I have seen, Critical Role, like, people like working there. I haven't heard very many behind the scenes people leave in a huff because they're overworked or they're not getting paid enough or they're being sexually abused. I haven't heard a lot of stories along those lines. This is the first, sort of second. There's rumors that one of the other guys that they at one point booted off was a bit inappropriate with some of the staff, but that's again all alleged, and I could be remembering that wrong, so don't take that to heart. There was, again, just rumors of that stuff, which rumors are a problem in their own right, because they muddy the waters on other things. But anyway, again, these people might not have come forward until after the stuff with Ashley Johnson came out, because they're working at this place, they love their job, and there's one creepy guy who has done something that you should get reprimanded or fired, um, depending on the severity of said groping, we get into legal territory. But yeah, like he should have been let go right away if this came to light, and they probably would have. But oftentimes, again, people don't like to rock the boat. But then Ashley Johnson comes out, says what's happened to her. This person comes forward. This person then says, you know what, I'm coming forward. Or actually, it sounds like so. There's two employees. They don't say former employees, so it sounds like people who still work there. Um, and then a random audience member. So again, I really doubt Critical Role would have been aware that two of our employees were sexually harassed or abused by another member of their staff and not have done anything about it. And I doubt they would stay if that was like a norm in their inner circle and stuff. So it sounds to me speculation that yeah, once Ashley came out, a bunch of other people came forward and said, well, to quote the hashtag me too, right? This does sound like a case of similar to what kind of sparked that whole movement was somebody who got away with stuff like this for a long while and was kind of in that case a open secret. I don't think that's the case here. I just don't see, both from a moral perspective, I would like to think people at Critical Role are more virtuous, for lack of a better way of putting it, than this. So I don't think they would have tried to cover this up. And again, if they did, I think we would have we'd be hearing a bit more from the lawyers of these employees. Because and this is again why I like, as much as it sucks to talk about these things, because like I could eat my foot completely and get a bunch of people on the internet thinking that like I'm defending Brian Foster, or that like some of my held back language is me um siding siding with him or downplaying the severity of what's going on, things like that. The reason I want to talk about this kind of stuff is that frequently when somebody comes out with an allegation a few years after it has happened, people look at it a little cross of like, okay, but why didn't you come forward? That's weird, right? No, it often makes perfect sense that somebody doesn't come forward right away. And on top of that, we need a workplace culture, no matter where you work, where people can come forward with these issues and allegations without fear of uh, losing their job or getting ostracized in the workplace, things like that. Because that is something I've heard from people I've worked with, where they just, something's happened, they're not sure if they should come forward about it because will it make my working life actually harder? That kind of thing. And yeah, like stuff like this is horrendous. My heart goes out to the plaintiffs in this case, because it is not easy coming forward on this stuff, both from a emotional standpoint, a legal standpoint, a reputational standpoint, emotional, right? Like, this is not easy for any of them. I'm hoping they get some solace in the fact that it sounds like they're not alone across the board. It sounds like Critical Role is trying to make sure something like this can't slip through the cracks again. Because that's, again, I've heard telling through the industry of people who've worked with members of their both their main cast as well as their crew, that they're all good people, and I don't think there's any crazy like cover up or anything going on. This sounds like somebody got away with something for quite a while, and now hopefully they're not getting away with it anymore. Allegedly. All right. Well, that's horrendous. I don't really want to talk about that anymore. So let's look at Playtest 7 and pick up kind of where we left off. I got my coffee. I'm done talking about the heavy stuff. Let's start with the fun stuff. So playtest 7. There is a playtest 8 out. I'll have to see if there is a PDF for it yet. Oh, they're bringing it. So 5 days ago. So playtest 8 looks actually really cool. They're adding bastions, which are, kind of a keep type situation, which is really cool. My assumption is they probably looked at strongholds and followers, I think it was, and we're like, oh, that's like super popular. Maybe we should have some inherent rules in the next system to have like keeps and whatnot. So yeah, these bastions, as they're saying here, you get them depending on like they're actually adding in mechanics for it. So depending on the campaign and stuff you're playing, right, this is always going to be up to the DM's discretion. But would get a bastion at 5th level, and then you can unlock additional facilities at different levels. Facilities have level or class feature requirements. Like, that's actually going to be pretty sweet. So, like, you adventurers end up buying the pub you started at, or you get gifted a castle for or a keep or something from saving a part of the land or things like that. So you have a place of operation. Like, that sounds all really cool. I'm not going to comment too much on everything on here. They're adding like events and stuff. Defenders, so having like staff, like it sounds like they're really thinking about how to implement this stuff. So that sounds really fun. Yeah. Now they are revising cantrips. I don't really want to dive too much into this stuff yet, but this I do want to take a look at before we get back into playtest 7, because I did scroll through these a little bit. Yeah. So they've made Acid Splash a 5-foot radius sphere, which I think is good, because I think it used to be single target and then adjacent stuff. So this might actually make Acid Splash useful. I'll have to see the full way they're writing it. Blade Ward. Now a reaction that imposes disadvantage on a melee attack. Blade Ward, what did it used to do? Until your next turn, you have resistance against... It was an action. Oh, yeah, this spell sucked before. It took a full action, where now it is a reaction. This is great. Everything about this is great. Especially if you're fighting something with like sneak attack and stuff. Yeah. It will be a target you can see. And it is melee attack specifically. So doesn't work against arrows and stuff. But again, blade ward as opposed to arrow ward. I dig it. Making that a reaction makes it actually useful. Would have been too powerful to have a reaction that reduced slashing, bludgeoning, etc. In my view. But yeah, and giving a way for wizards to die less is always appreciated. Chill touch spell. Touch spell instead of ranged with increased damage. Not sure how I feel about that. But if I increase its damage, it might even out. If it's increased enough, I could get behind that. It does then keep the flavor, like the flavor of chill touch has always been weird. Of like you summon a skeletal hand that kind of like, versus now it's gonna be like my hand reaches out and I suck a bit of your life force out. Which I think flavor wise is cool. It's just gonna depend what that increased damage is. Like, am I ever gonna bother using this instead of a like Toll the Dead or something like that? Friends, wisdom saving throw. They're no longer hostile after the spell ends. So hostile after the spell ends is the. I need to see what the actual reading is. If it is they're not aware that you cast the spell, or is it that they are not necessarily hostile? Poison spray, increased range. Requires an attack roll instead of saving throw, and is now a necromancy spell. I don't know. I do know that the saving throw on it was a bit of a pain in the ass, so maybe that'll make it better. Produce flame. Change from action to bonus action casting. Can now target objects. Weird. So, bonus action casting. So you can produce the flame as a bonus action, but then the attack, I think, still takes an action. Shillelagh improves at high levels and offers the option to deal force damage, because that makes perfect sense that it becomes force damage. Improves at higher levels is actually really interesting. I'll have to see what that does. But they're changing all of their wording to anything that ignores damage resistant, blah, 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 to just it does force damage. It's the least resisted damage type in the game. Like monks, their fist stuff, instead of counting as magic weapons, you have the option of making them do force damage. So that sounds like what they're basically doing here, just to simplify a lot of stuff into one thing. Shocking Grasp stops opportunity attacks instead of all reactions. No longer grants advantage against enemies wearing metal armor. Shocking Grasp was always mediocre. So why make it worse? I mean, I can understand if they made it better, right? If you're going to do all of this, like if you're going to make it worse 2 times over, you better be upping the damage, or Shocking Grasp just is going to suck now. Spare the Dying, range instead of touch. Increases, appears on the druid's spell list. Spare the Dying being ranged is nice. I'm out of spell slots. I can't get to them. They're about to die. It does it does improve their likelihood of survival. I would do. They can no longer fail. They no longer get failed death save counters, so that the player can still attempt to roll, and if they get a nat 20, then they come up, or something like that. But that might add too many confusing words. Anyway, True Strike allows you to make an attack with a weapon using your spell costing ability. Option to deal radiant damage, and deals bonus radiant damage at higher levels. Allows you to make a weapon attack. So True Strike is now closer to like Green Flame Blade, but in a radiant sense. Is that what they're going for? I mean, that's cool. True Strike was terrible before. The big takeaways I have is Blade Ward is now actually useful. True Strike sounds to be actually useful. Spare the Dying, more useful than before. Still not 100% sold on it. I'd rather use Healing Word if I have it. But it being range does help a lot. Shocking Grasp got nerfed for no reason that I'm aware of. I mean, I guess maybe some DMs were getting annoyed that he was getting rid of some of the reactions, but we're going to use Shocking Grasp so that they can't counterspell. Makes a lot of sense from a tactical perspective. Why else would you run up and melee attack somebody? The only other use for this is to get out of combat, right? If you're a wizard and something, but you should be trying to avoid that anyway, and there's other ways to get out. So I don't know. Shillelagh improving, sweet. Produce flame. I have to see how they actually word all of this to know what the heck is actually going on, because it sounds like you can summon a flame as a bonus action. I wonder if it's going to be if you have the flame in hand, you can use it as part of your attack of opportunity or something. I just don't know. Poison spray, maybe that's an improvement. Who knows? Friends, have to see how it's worded. Chill touch, weird. I don't know. If the damage is improved enough to make it worth it, maybe. But why wouldn't I just use True Strike or Green Flame Blade or anything like that or Shillelagh potentially? So I don't know. That's a maybe. Acid Splash could be better. Yeah. Who knows? Interesting though. Happy to see they're messing around with stuff. So again, I don't want to get too much into the weeds on it until we get the actual numbers, especially on things like the keep. I keep calling it a keep, but the bastions. It is cool. Like they do seem to be making some actual, not just, hey, we're going to revamp the rules. They're adding stuff to the game that makes me more intrigued about getting a new player's handbook, especially if they do keep it all compatible with the other books I have and keep it that it has its own stuff in it. Right, there's going to be some new subclasses and stuff. It's going to have this bastion system or revives cantrips. I mean, people have bought books solely for something like the bastion system and some new cantrips and stuff like that, right? So having it in the player's handbook, they're adding some value rather than just, hey, here's a new player's handbook. I know you already own one. So, yeah, I'm actually more intrigued by this is for the Dungeon Master's Guide. Interesting, because that is okay. the current Dungeon Master's Guide is good. It's I think underutilized, including by myself. So having more stuff in that rather than just we revised some stat blocks. Yeah, I want to see more of what they're putting in the Dungeon Master Guide. I know they're going to sell more players' handbooks than DM guides, so there's a reason they're focusing on that more. But yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, let's look at other stuff. All right. Last time I made it through Barbarian. I believe Fighter as well. Because we looked at Brawler, which is really that's the part that actually makes really has me interested in it. Some minor changes to some other stuff. Sorcerer. Now, Sorcerer in the playtest, I think I was looking at playtest 5? No. Oh, maybe it was because they had 5 and 6 were the different classes, and then 7 here is revising a bunch of the changes they made annoyingly. But all right, updates since the last version. Innate sorcery empowers your spell's attack rolls and save DCs for a limited time. Spellcasting returns to using sorcerer's spell list rather than the arcane spell list. Guys. No. Have an arcane spell list and then have class specific spell lists. I hate this. I liked what they were doing before. We're going to have 3 spell lists for the main things everybody can pull from depending on their class and stuff. My only guess is they might be doing something with bards that when they're revising some of the magical secret stuff, because I don't think the feedback was particularly positive for how they changed it. I don't know. I don't like that. Font of Magic no longer requires a bonus action to convert spell slots into sorcery points. That's cool. You can just do it as long as it's your turn. I'm guessing. Meta Magic gives you 2 options at level 2 and 2 more. Can now change whenever you gain a sorcerer level. I don't know how big of a change that is. Subclass returns to the 2014 level progression because they're cowards. Though it works because then it keeps the other books compatible. I get it. So it's actually better for the consumer because then you don't have to rebuy like Xanathar's Guide to Everything and stuff. Ugh. One moment. Work. All right. So yeah, like I said, subclasses lining up. It actually, even though it diminishes the value a bit of this new stuff, it tells me that they aren't just going to re-release, and put out like, no, you have to buy all new source books for all this other stuff. Um, yeah, I do still think though they need potentially some uh like updates for things like say Curse of Strahd that was written long before a lot of the power creep that's happened in 5th ed, and have some revised um, stat blocks and things. But you know, you're a DM if at that point. You make the call. You up those hit points. You make up that AC if you need to. That kind of thing. Anyway, don't buy a new book for it. Source of Vitality is gone. Sorceress Restoration is moved from 15 to 5. If you have no sorcerer point when you roll initiative, feature restores a certain number. Oh. Okay. Sorcery Incarnates moved from level 9 to 7, has been redesigned to enhance innate sorcery. So yeah, the main things I'm seeing is they've moved levels on a few things. They've edited a couple of little things, and then they have I'm really not happy about having a sorcerer spell list rather than a arcane spell list. I don't like that. I just don't. I don't know. Maybe the feedback was, hey, we want to keep it the older way, but I don't like it. Like I actually don't know very many spells that are on say the wizard spell list that aren't on the sorcerer, other than the new wizard specific stuff. So I just don't get it. I just don't like it. Okay. Let's actually look at the class a bit here. So, level 1 innate sorcery. As a bonus action, you can unleash that magic for 1 minute. Oh. Spell DC for your interesting. I might be seeing why they went with its own spell list, but then it's not from sorcerer spell list, it's sorcerer spells. So this is kind of cool. They have put the brakes on it a little bit. What's going on here? Well, at level 1, you can increase your spell DCs and you have advantage on attack rolls of sorcerer spells you cast. That's a little bonkers. Now it isn't if you use your sorcerer. It's not if you use your sorcerer spell slots per se. It's if you use something from the sorcerer spells that you've learned as a sorcerer, which does make for some very interesting multi-class potential, because even though you're only one level in sorcerer, if you have a level 1 spell that you can upcast, and say you're a level 10 wizard, you can cast that using a higher level spell slot and give yourself advantage on it. This is maybe overpowered. This actually isn't too bad, as long as they're adding something like other classes get something that keeps DC is not getting too out of line. And the fact that it is only 1 isn't too big of a deal. Advantage equates to, I think it's like 2.5 in terms of a numerical bonus statistically. I can't remember now. I know it's around 2. So it sounds way bigger than it is. And then again, it has to be one of your sorcerer's spells. Has to be. So whatever, like if you multi-class and you take 1 level to get innate sorcery, you can't go and use a spell, like use a 5th level spell as a different class. It has to be one of the spells you learned as a sorcerer. However, you can upcast it to be a level 5 spell. And because sorcerers are pure casters, you can get this without costing yourself too much progression in terms of spell slots. If they're doing multi-classing the way that it was done before, add all your sorcerer spell levels to appropriate levels to determine your available spell slots. Yeah, so they're keeping this the same way. So multi-classing into this for, like, I wouldn't grab it specifically for that. But it does make multi-classing into a sorcerer and have a little more interesting potential, as well as being higher level in sorcerer, so that you can add advantage to a spell. And you can only, now it lasts a minute, so combat only, but then you can do it twice per day. I don't know how many groups are doing more than 2 combats in a day. They might be. I don't know. This could be a bit much, especially for a level 1 ability. But I don't know. So they get spellcasting level 1. Works the same way as you know what? Here's what I'm wondering. Here's my hope, because I like this arcane spell list thing rather than having a multitude of spell lists. And I like this idea of reducing it down to, here are 3 types of spells, if they're just using this for the playtest. This is my general feedback. I like the idea of those 3 spell lists. So, yeah. Anyway. Paired spells. I don't think they changed anything with that. Whenever you gain a sorcerer level, you can replace 1 spell from your list with another spell from the list. I think that's the same as it. Well, was that always the case? Or was that at certain levels that you could? I think it was always the case. I can't remember. All right. Font of Magic. 2 sorcery points. Yeah, so this is the stuff they've always had. Can create spell slots using it. Wait, I thought it said that you don't have to. No longer requires bonus action converts spell slots into sorcery points. Okay. So you can convert spell slots into sorcery points without using your bonus action, but vice versa does require it. Also, I can't remember. Not that anybody would want to necessarily do this. I can't remember if it was like you regain an expended spell slot before. Now it's you just create a new spell slot, but you lose it on the long rest. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. I don't know why. Oh, you know what? It's because certain. It might Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why they put this in. Take the like maybe I would swap this for both. I would if you're gonna do one, I would just do them both and just turn it into an expanded pool. I don't know why one takes it and one doesn't. Meta magic works the same as before. Metamatic options. All right, what else changed in here? They got rid of that. Subclass. Well, yeah, you can change the meta magic more often. Because I don't think you. I think you could anytime that you gained stuff. They got rid of that, so I won't see that on there. Source restoration. Okay, so there are a few more things that have changed in here. I'm not spending as like going over line by line as I did in previous because this is an update from the previous update kind of thing. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, when you roll initiative or finish a short rest and have no sorcery points remaining, you regain a number equal to your sorcerer level divided by 5, rounded down. So at level 5, you'd get 1, you'd get 2 at level 10. I'm perfectly cool with this, especially when you only have a couple points at this level. That actually adds a bit of a boon because if you're doing multiple short rests in a day, or if you spend them all in one combat and then a new combat pops up. I do love the when you roll initiative as part of some of these recovery things because it does take a bit of pressure off the DM to make sure that they know if people can do certain recoveries and blah 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 blah. Because I can just say, well, no, this is part of the same combat. You're in the same initiative order. Oh, so I can't do that. Okay. Oh, you roll initiative. Oh, okay, I get that. Oh, we took short rest. Okay, I get that. It streamlines that a little bit, and makes I think for more fun for your sorcerer because if your sorcerer you use all like what is it? I can't even remember how many you start with in this game now. Oh, I should know. I DM a sorcerer. Yeah, so at level 5, you'll have 5 sorcery points, but some of these things cost 2. I think some of them higher. And then, yeah, if you've turned them into spell slots and stuff like that. Which now people, if they have like a limited pool, they're probably going to be more willing to spend them because they know they're going to get one back if they do end up rolling initiative. So that may encourage. I'm going to make a spell out of these remaining sorcery points. Okay, we're in combat. Cool. I get one back, so I at least have something cool I can do meta magic wise in combat. I'm perfectly fine with that. I've been giving my sorcerer a cheeky way and whatnot of being able to recover theirs in the regular 5e game. So yeah. Can you 2 meta magic thing? Okay, I don't think that changed at all. This was cool. I can't remember if this was added or not. They had something like this for fighters where their capstone is like you can use a superiority die without expending one once per turn. So you can use a meta magic option on each, and it's not you can use a sorcery point without spending one. It's you can use a meta magic option on each of your turns without spending points. That's really cool. Level 20 though is like unobtainable for the vast majority of people, so it doesn't really matter. Meta magic options. All right, distance spell returns to doubling the range. I think we're gonna see a lot of this. We're gonna see a lot of returns. Seeking spell now costs 1 point rather than 2. Okay. Subtle spell now clarifies that it doesn't remove material components that have a cost specified. Okay, so they just repaired the wording. Twin spell has some of its previous multi-targeting functions, but now within appropriate limits. Okay, so I do need to read twin spell. Everything else sounds like they're pretty much where they used to be. Twin spell, 1 sorcery point. Wait, what? I remember twin spell being way more powerful than this. Cast with a higher level spell slot to target an additional creature. I mean, okay, I kind of get it. So they're basically making twin spell doesn't work with a lot of combat oriented. I mean, not combat, like because charm person and whole person are combat oriented. It's not I cast chromatic orb and I twin spell it. It doesn't sound like that works anymore, which is a huge nerf. That's not how this used to work. Yeah. When you cast a spell that targets only one creature and doesn't have a range of self, you can spend sorcery points equal to the spell's level to target a second creature with the same spell. This is way weaker. It's cheap. Like, it only costs 1 sorcery point. I would be curious, does this work with Bless? Because now it doesn't say a single target becomes a 2-target spell. It says a spell that can be cast with a higher spell slot to target an additional creature. So I think Blessed, like I think normally targets 3, you could use a single sorcery point to up it to level 2, basically, to yeah. So like it has use, and because it's so cheap, I think it's fine, but this is my guess is Twin Spell was just too powerful. Nobody was using anything else. So they made this they nerfed it into the ground, and they're hoping that increases build diversity. I don't know. I don't know. Summarize it. They're cowards and changed a lot of things back to 2014 stuff. Thankfully, they kept. It sounds like they kept some of the spells from the previous playtest, which is good because there's a few really cool. Uh, like that sorcerer burst cantrip is cool. And the arcane eruption things is really cool. So they kept some of the real fun stuff that they added previously. So I'm not too heartbroken about the changes they've made, and I again I get it, lining the subclass levels up and stuff and whatnot, but yeah, uh, yeah, Twin Spell is still nerfed into the ground, if not more so than the previous. I'd have to go back and read, which I'm not going to. So we're going to carry on. All right, Draconic Sorcery subclass. So this was in one of the previous playtest appearances. Now has Dragon Speech. Gives you Draconic language, and while creatures of the dragon type don't understand or do understand your speech, they don't necessarily, or you don't necessarily understand them. So I think what this means is if you're speaking to a Draconic type creature that doesn't have a language, it can understand you, but you can't understand it. Which makes sense because if it doesn't have a language, like this isn't like speak with animals, where you can understand them back and forth. Once you right, Dragon Winds allows you to sprout wings without relying on a spell. Cool. Draconic Presence replaces Draconic Exhalation. Features now bonus action and doesn't require concentration. So I do need to look at this. The rest of this stuff I don't care too much about. So Draconic Presence. You can channel the dread presence of the dragons. As a bonus action, you can spend 5 sorcery points to draw on power to exude an aura of awe and fear within 60 feet of you for 1 minute or until you have the incapacitated condition. Each creature of your choice that starts their turn in the aura must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your spell DC or have the charmed or frightened condition until the creature is outside the aura. I do like that it is just sorcery points. When I say just, you can use this as many times as you have stuff available. So that's cool. That sounds like it's the only major change. Because they had Dragon Wings. Bonus action, use part wings, getting fly speed equal to your speed. I think they might have just given you access to the fly spell before or something, but now it doesn't. Um, oh, it also doesn't have concentration, so you can just do this as many times a day as you want. You just always have a fly speed. I mean, that's really cool. I like that. They're always going to be spectral from a min-maxing perspective because if you have to actually have like slots in your armor for them. But I'm that that could be really fun RP wise as well. Yeah, I like everything I'm seeing here. Cool. Yeah, I mean, doesn't sound like they made any major changes other than some fixes. So, um, yeah, they've taken concentration out of the presence. Now the dragon wings. Conic bloodline. What was this thing before? 14th level, you gain the ability. Says bonus item. You can't manifest your way. Armor is made to accommodate them. The clothing. They must have moved it to a spell slot or something in a previous, because that sounds very similar. Anyway, all right. Overall, cool. Yeah, I like what I'm seeing. Wild Magic. Wild Magic Surge no longer requires DM permission. Tides of Chaos is now guaranteed to give you a roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. Bend Luck now costs 1 sorcery point instead of 2. Interesting. Wild Bombardment, formerly Spell Bombardment, now allows you to use a Wild Magic Surge effect that casts a spell or that replenishes. Interesting. Okay. There's actually a bunch of bigger changes going on here compared to Dragon, where they just kind of tweaked a few things. At least that's what it sounds like. Let's find out, shall we? Wild Magic Surge. No more than once per turn, you can roll a d20 immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell with a spell slot. If you roll a 20 on Wild Magic Surge table, immediately after cast a sorcerer spell with a spell slot. Now it says you can. This is very different, but I guess this is Wild Magic Sorcerer. What was this? How did they word this before? Oh, yeah, the DM would tell you to do it. I always thought it was just something you did, but now it's something you can do. Interesting. That's fun. All right. Um Interesting. I like the end wording on here. I don't know if that was how it was originally worded. Um yeah, it was. All right. Cool. Yeah, putting it in the player's hands. And it's you can roll. Yeah, except then there's gonna be a lot of players where like, no, I choose not to in this pivotal moment, blah blah blah, which I kind of get. It's like, no, I'm focusing in. I need to do this versus I'm gonna be wacky. All right. Tides of Chaos. I don't think it's changed at all. Bend Luck. Immediately after another creature you can see rolls a. You can use your reaction to spend 1 sorcery point to roll a d4 and apply the number bonus or a penalty. It only costing 1 makes it, I think, way better. I think it starts to infringe a bit on a bit more on bards. It does use your reaction. Okay, yeah, cool. I'm fine with that being cheaper. Then Wild Bombardment changed. Immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell with a spell slot, you can create an effect of your choice from the Wild Magic table, provided the effect casts a spell or restores. Interesting. Where I think before spell bombardment. 18th level. When you roll damage for a spell, roll the highest number possible. Choose one of the dice. Roll it again. Okay. This has changed quite a bit. At least compared to the original. It might not. Well, I don't even know if they had a playtest version of this. But an effect from the wild magic table, provided it casts a spell or restores all of your expended sorcery points. You can use this in X amount of long rests. So like this is supposed to be like a big deal when you use it, because it's not just, oh, you get this once a day. This is like you get it potentially up to 4 days in between. Like this is going to have to take some choices to decide when to use it, which I'm all for. And yeah, that's real cool. Automatic search to provide the effect, cast a spell. So yeah, like you can basically get all of your sorcery points back, or you can cast a second spell on your turn basically for free. And it's after you cast a spell with a spell slot, where before you'd have to like it was like a thing triggered if you're rolling damage. This is really cool and weird, and I like it. I'd have to see what spells are on the chart, but it's particularly interesting because the chart does have like spells that require concentration that now don't. So there's quite a few on there that could be really weird, fun combos. But I take it. Cool. I'm glad to see the Wild Magic Sorcerer getting a little bit of love. Not 100% sure on this with the Wild Magic Surge stuff, because it does make it feel less random. Yeah, I don't know. But it does. So it's less that it's random, it's more that you're channeling randomness. I can get behind that. Like it's more that chaotic energy as opposed to flipping a coin as to whether or not, okay, I don't know if this spell is going to cause a wild magic surge or not. It's like, no, I can choose. I kind of like it. All right. That's Sorcerer. Wizard of the Coast, you're cowards for backtracking on the spell list stuff, but other than that, I'm liking most of everything I'm seeing. I'm glad you put a limitation on that level 1 sorcerer ability where it's not just any spell. It has to be sorcerer spells, which does open up some interesting multi-classing stuff, but with limitations. I can get behind that. Yeah, subclasses all seem just tweaked in all the right ways. Now, last thing I want to look at today, Warlock. I'm very intrigued by this. Again, from what I hear, Wizards of the Coast, cowards. Maybe. They were completely revamping Warlock into like a full caster or like a half caster, and getting rid of it being its own unique little universe. So we'll see though if they move back to it being its own thing, which is kind of nice, right? Having something that's completely different. But they were trying really hard to make sure it wasn't just everybody takes a point in multi-classing Warlock because it's overpowered, which I've done because it's fun. Technically, I took 3 levels in it. In my bard, who doesn't know that he's also a warlock. Long story that I don't want to get into in case any of my fellow players watch this, because they don't know why yet. But yeah, they've changed things back. It's reverted. So, and it kind of sucks that warlock, most people don't play through the whole game as one. It's just something that people dip into a lot. But at the same time, thematically, it makes a lot of sense of I'm going to sell part of myself. I'm going to make a contract for instantaneous power as opposed to just taking the long way around and leveling up my main class. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Class armor training entry returns to including only light armor. Oh, I guess, yeah, they put it to like medium armor, I think, on some of the stuff. So yeah, this is all invocations, cantrip, prepared spell slot level. So they've kind of gone back to this all looks very, very similar to OG. I don't know if there's any minor tweaks anywhere in here that I'm not quite catching. It is interesting to me. I love that the Warlock subclass is actually Pact Magic. Let's see. Did they make all of the subclass stuff come online at level 3 versus level 1? I guess we're about to find out. That's intriguing. Mystic Arcanum stuff. Okay. Pact Magic returns. Eldritch Invocation moves to level 1. Okay, some big changes. Now I'm excited. Eldritch Invocations at level 1 is actually even better than before, because now, well, depending, they may have taken away some stuff. Pact Boon is integrated into Eldritch Invocation feature. Over time, you are now able to choose more than one of the former Pact Boon. What in the? Okay, they're making me. Okay. Wizards of the Coast, I was calling you cowards. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe you're just mad scientists. Let's find out. It's only got 45 minutes, so we'll see. I also have to eat and shower before I go to work. Interesting, though. Moving it to level 1, I guess I'll find out what that all means. Pact Boon is now integrated in that. Magical Cunning, level 2 feature that allows Warlock to quickly regain a certain number. Interesting. Contact Patron moves to level 9. Not sure how I like that or not. Mystic Arcanum returns to being a core feature and now allows you to replace one of its spells whenever you gain a level in its class. Okay. Hexmaster is gone. Eldritch Master returns to level 20. Okay. Creating Warlock. Armor training with, like, this is their new thing for armor proficiency. Pact Magic to cast spells you've prepared from class of the spell. So you can still, you can cast other classed stuff. Spell casting. Okay, cool. All right. Level 1, Eldritch Invocations. You have unearthed the Eldritch Invocation, fragments of forbidden knowledge that imbue you with. You gain one invocation of your choice, such as Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Tome. Invocations are described in the Eldritch Invocation options. If an invocation has a prerequisite, you must meet that. Okay. Must be a warlock of level 5 or higher. You have to be level 5 in this class. All right, and then Pact Magic. This is what I wanted to check, because I think they might have made some changes here. Cantrips. Did they change Eldritch Blast back to what it was before? Because before that was like, you always have Eldritch Blast. I'm also curious. Proficiencies. So armor training is like a new wording. It's not. Okay, I need to go back to sorcerer for a second. Bear with me. Bear with me. Spellcasting ability, charisma. This is okay, so it does specifically mention it. Back down. Spellcast charisma. Okay, that's what I was checking for. I wanted to see if they got because one of the interesting things was you could have a different spellcasting ability. I wonder if that's going to be in the invocations though, for opening up those multi-classing doors a bit more again. Again, they're using the Warlock spell list from the 2014 Player's Handbook. I'd be curious if they're going to go back to the OG way of doing it, or if they're going to keep the Arcane, Primal, Divine, and then and it's just for the sake of the playtest, keeping things simpler. Gain all expanded pact magic spell slots, because again, these are separate still on a short or long rest. Okay, so they have reverted this all the way back to OG Warlock. Including the spellcasting ability. Again, I'll be intrigued to see if they change that for in the invocations. Cunning magic. If all of your pact magic spells are expended, you can perform a rite, esoteric rite, for 1 minute, at the end of which you regain half of those spell slots rounded up. Once you use this feature, you can't do it again until a long rest. So this is nice. I like everything I'm seeing here. Basically, this lets you gain a couple spell slots back in a minute rather than, okay, guys, we need to take a short rest because I'm out of stuff. It isn't if you have all of your spell used, you get one back at like the sorcerer stuff, or you get this back if you roll initiative and stuff. You need to take 1 minute. But 1 minute is much easier to do than 10. So, interestingly as well, if all of them are expended, so you can't do this unless you've used all of them. You can't be like, well, I used one. We don't feel like doing a lot, so you have to use all of them, which, especially at higher levels, makes this very interesting because you get back half of your spells, so you'll have more spell slots, and it rounds up. So, if you have 3 spell slots, you get 2 of them back. This is one of the few cases where the round up thing comes into play. Interesting. I like this. I like this a lot. It has the perfect balance of benefit with restriction. Yes. Now, subclass. I don't know how I feel about this. They seem to have switched things around. So like level 1, they have Pact of the Etceteras by the sound of what they mentioned earlier, and at level 3, you're picking your patron. However, this also opens up the doors to like, hey, DM, I'm thinking about taking the Fiend patron, but my character didn't know that they signed on with the Fiend, so they're gonna find a level 3 great old one. Like, you don't know where your powers come from, and these dreams, they keep driving you slowly crazy, right? There's some interest in here, and it lines it up with the other classes for when the subclass kicks in. They did the same. It was weird, but they did the same thing with cleric in some of the past playtest stuff, where at level 1 you get a I think it was like Pantheon or something, but level 3 you get your actual subclass. I like it and I don't at the same time. It streamlines things, it lines things up. But again, you don't need things to line up, guys. Stuff can be weird. You can get some classes got their subclass at level 2. It's fine. But I'm also not opposed to this necessarily, especially because subclass level 1 for new players. Let me backtrack on my previous statements. I really like this for new players. I've never played a Warlock before. At level 1, I pick an Eldritch Invocation that half-ass sets my subclass, but I can change that out if I figure out I don't really like it. And then at level 3, I make the actual decisions of which way I'm going to play this class. So say you make a Warlock, and man, I'm really liking meleeing with it. I'm going to make sure I do that. Then I'm going to pick the best subclass to work with that. Or, oh man, I'm using Eldritch Blast, and oh boy, is it ever as fun as people say it is. I'm going to go with the subclass that makes the best Eldritch Blaster, right? This works. This is fine, especially for new players who aren't who are going level by level rather than plotting out on a piece of paper what am I going to do at this level, right? I love doing builds personally, but I also love leveling up as I go, and I have the option to be a multi-class and a warlock here, and that'll be really cool for this story. I kind of want to do it, right? I almost did that for my paladin in one game, but I kept him whole. Anyway, ability score improvement. Again, they're adding the ability score improvement feat, or right, they're confusing the descriptions here. I wish before they had feat, and one of the feats available was ability score improvement. Now it's ability score improvement. So maybe they're making feats optional again. Like the DM can say, no, feat table, we're ripping that up. I don't know. Contact patron. Now you can communicate directly. And you always have contact other plane prepared. With this feature, you can cast a spell without expending a spell slot to contact your patron. You automatically succeed on the spell's saving throw. So you can you get the spell for free, and you can cast it. As long as this isn't taking anything else away. Cool. Mystic Arcanum. Or let me just go back to this for a second for those who aren't familiar. Can't contact other plane. You cast a spell and it contacts another plane. Who knew? But you have to try to make it work and stuff. So this is actually kind of cool because it just automatically works if you're trying to contact your patron. And you can do that once a day. But you also then have the spell at your disposal to cast regularly. So that's sweet because warlocks have very limited spells. So having one that like this they can cast, and being able to again at level 9, your patron relationship should be RP wise, in my opinion, have built up enough that you've garnered enough of their trust for you to be able to reach out to them rather than them only reaching out to you. So I like the level that this is at. I might have put it a little earlier, but contact other plane I think is a higher level spell of sorts. I'd have to double check the spell, but Anyway, all right. Mystic Arcanum. Choose one level 6 spell from the Warlock spell list as this Arcanum. You can cast it once without expending a spell slot. You must finish a long rest before you can do it again. So it's still, again, it's on your spell list, but you can cast it for, right? This is cool. Was this on here before? My Warlocks have never been high enough level to use this stuff. Mystic Arcanum 6th level. All right, that's level 11. Okay, yeah, it's very similar to what they were before, if not exactly the same. But yeah, I haven't seen too many warlocks get up into this level range, so I haven't witnessed this. It is intriguing, and I do like the flavor of it, and actually the mechanic of you can cast it once for free, and then you can just cast it normally as well. Now level 11. Interesting. I didn't know it worked that way. Man, it's been a while since I've looked at higher level warlock stuff because almost everybody takes the first 3 levels of it and never looks back. But yeah, because you cap out at level 5, but then this is how you get access to 6 level, 8, 9 level spell slots. Interesting. All right. Well, let's keep going though. Because I was like, wait a second, would you even have a 6 level spell slot? And you don't. Whenever you gain a warlock level, you can swap these out. To me, that sounds too limiting. But at the same time, these aren't really designed to be like a prepared, like every day you can swap out your 6th level spell slot. So I'm kind of okay with it, but yeah. They got rid of Hex thing because they made, again, cowards. Makes me keep calling them that. When you use Magical Cunning feature, you regain all expended. Interesting. Okay. That's quite a capstone. You just get all your pack magic spell slots back. With I it's both like powerful but boring. It's cool though. All right, Eldritch Invocation options. So they changed a bunch of stuff. Oh. Okay. Sweet. Eldritch Blast is still amazing, don't get me wrong, but being able to, I'm going to use a different cantrip and put this on. I need to actually read though, because if I put that on a cantrip that already adds my modifier to it, does it double up? So we'll find out when we get there. But that is actually really cool. And again, opens up build diversity, but it has to be a warlock cantrip. So you can't put one level into warlock and then put this on that arcane blast or whatever it's called, or sorcerer thing. The sorcerer cantrip that lets you explode on a level or on a D4, like if you roll a 4, kind of thing. So yeah, every time, like yeah. So we'll get to that in a second though. Requires level 5 rather than 9. Beast speech is gone since speech with animals is now on the Warlock spell list and can be cast as a ritual. Devil's Sight now works in dim light as well as in darkness. It didn't work in dim... What? It didn't work in that before? I have to see how they word that. Eldritch Mind has been imported from... Okay, Eldritch Sight is gone since Detect Magic is now on the Warlock spell list and can cast as a ritual. Eldritch Smite has been imported. I keep thinking they say improved, but it's imported, so they're just saying, like, yeah, the stuff from Xanathar's is just going to be in... Which, again, I'm cool with. These are especially important for certain tables where it's like you can use 2 source books or something, right? Or you can use the handbook and 1 source book. So it's like Xanathar's was nice because it was such a culmination of a bunch of stuff. But what happens if somebody says no, you can only use 2? It's like, well, I want to use something from Xanathar's and something from what's the other one? Tasha's, right? Now you can do both in a lot of cases. Eldritch Spear now lets you choose which cantrip benefits from the invocation. Eyes of the Runekeeper has been removed because Comprehend Languages is now on the Fever of the Chainmaster has been cut in favor of importing Investment of the Chainmaster. Okay. So again, they're like pulling something like, hey, this was better, and so we're just bringing it in. Fiendish Vigor no longer requires you to roll a die when casting False Life. You instead gain the maximum number of temporary hit points. Cool. Gaze of Two Minds now works on any willing creature, not just humanoids. Yes. Gift of the Depths has been imported from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Eldritch Mind from Tasha's replaces Hexer. So yeah, Tasha's added a bunch of stuff that was just simply better than what was in before, and they're seeing that. Imported lessons. The first ones can now be taken more than once. Let's see what that is. Life Drinker now lets you choose to deal necrotic, psychic, or radiant, and its healing is connected to your hit dice. Interesting. Requires... Interesting. All right. 1 in the shadows lets you cast invisibility without a spell slot while you're in dim light or darkness. The Whirly Leap requires 2 rather than 9. Yeah, stuff like that. Like, I can jump farther. Yeah, why is that being put on level 9? Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Chain, and Pact of the Tome are now invocations. Pact of the Chain includes additional familiar options, and Pact of the Tome gives you a level 1 spell slot. Thirsting Blade returns, improves in level 11. Yeah, they're dropping a lot of these invocations to be used at lower levels, which again makes for better multiclassing. Because if this is like a 15th level thing, nobody's gonna, like, unless you're doing a dip out of Warlock, right? You just aren't gonna see that. So Agonizing Blast. Choose one of your known Warlock cantrips that deals damage. You can add your spellcasting ability modifier to that spell's damage rolls. Whenever you gain a Warlock level, you can change which of your Warlock cantrips benefits from this invocation. Still best to be on still best to be on probably Eldritch Blast. However, yeah, like if I have is Green Flame Blade even available to Warlocks? Yes. So Green Flame Blade adds your spellcasting ability modifier, and this doesn't specify whether that, because sometimes it'll say if you haven't already or things like that. Like it got a little confusing. So this does open up some doors for melee warlocks. Cool. Armor of Shadows, same as it's always been. Ascendant Step, Levitate without casting a spell, whatever. See, normally in dim light and darkness, both magical and non-magical. Yeah, that's weird. It didn't mention dim light before. It might have just said darkness, and like people were like, "Oh, well, in dim light, it messes." No, I don't know. Eldritch Mind. Fast Warcaster. Cool. Eldritch Smite needs to have Pact of the Blade. Once per turn, you hit a creature with your Pact weapon. You can expend a Warlock spell slot to deal force damage, plus another. And you give them the pro. Oh, it just automatically knocks them onto the ground. Interesting. Yeah, it's cool. It's a basic paladin smite, but I'm huge or smaller knocks them down. Interesting. Eldritch Spear has to have a range of at least 10 feet. When you cast a spell, increases its range by equivalent of 30 times your warlock level. That adds a lot. Again, very spell sniper, but without having to take the feat. I dig it. Fiendish Vigor, cast False Life without expending a spell slot. When you cast this spell with this feature, you don't roll, you just automatically gain it. This is perfectly fine to be, you just get the max level. Because it only can cast at level 1. And if you're a Fiendish Warlock, eventually you're, because you can only have temporary hit points from one source, so it would be replaced by like a higher source of it. So yeah, this is probably really good low level, and then I'd probably get rid of it later on, especially if I took Fiend as a pact, unless they've changed Fiend, because they've changed a bunch of stuff. Gaze of Two Minds, level 5. It's bonus action, touch a willing creature, perceived through their senses. The duration until the end of your next turn. The connection ends. I could see an interesting use for that, but I don't know. I don't think I would use this a lot. Oh. While perceiving through the other creature's senses, you benefit from any special senses possessed by that creature, and you can cast spells as if you were in your space or other creature's space. If the two of you are within 60 feet of each other. Okay, never mind. That's really cool because you can cast a like touch spell by bonus actioning something onto your fighter. They run in and then you cast through them basically. That's really sweet. Never mind. I take it back. That's actually really cool. I don't know how often I would use it because I don't know how many touch spells. Like I don't have any touch spells on my warlock, but yeah, that's fun though. Gift of the Depths, breathe underwater. Also cast water breathing once a day. Ooh. I have to remember that. All right. For reasons. Give to the protectors. I don't know if that's changed at all. Yeah, investment of the chain masters. So like, there's just better and better familiar stuff to do with Pact of the Chain. Um, but I need to get to the pacts before I know what a bunch of this stuff actually helps with. Interesting. Yeah, yeah. This is all from, I think, Tasha's or something. Um, it's just, again, making the find familiar on Pact of the Chain more and more cool, because it was always like the one, in my opinion. Lessons of the first ones: receive knowledge, multiverse, allowing you to gain one feat of your choice that lacks prerequisites and is repeatable. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know how many feats there are that don't have prerequisites though, so that could be really cool, but I don't know. Life Drinker. Every creature with your packed weapon, creature takes um, extra d6. So this is sort of like a toned down improved Eldritch, or not improved Divine Smite. To do or radiant, and you can expend one hit dice to roll it and regain the number of. Okay, cool. Never mind. It's that's really rad. I like it. Uh, yeah, using a hit die in battle is there needs to be more stuff that does this, and I do like that it's Warlock who does it, because it the idea of I'm going to expend my um, hit die uh, to heal myself in this moment because I'm dealing damage. Yeah, it's just got the right elements. Mask of Many Faces. Um, Master of Myriad Forms. This is one they changed the level of. Can cast Alter Self without expending a spell slot. Fine, I guess. I mean, it's cool that it's a lower level, but one with the shadows. Situationally useful. Otherworldly Leap. I'm so glad they lowered the level on this. All right, Pacts. All right, Pact of the Blade. It's bonus action. Raise action sigil into the air to conjure a pact weapon. Till the bond ends, you have proficiency with the weapon. They're taking a page out of Baldur's Gate, where you can just instantly turn your pact weapon's ability modifier into charisma. That's really cool. I like that. Prerequisites none, so you can do this at level 1. I like that. There's a bunch of this opens up some really interesting doors, having this be a level 1 invocation thing. So it does mean that if you take level 1 in Warlock and you're only using Warlock to get Agonizing Blast, now you only need 1 level in Warlock. You don't have to do that 2-level dip. Cool, fine, whatever. Pending they haven't kept up the it only advances Eldritch Blast only advances on Warlock levels. But I distinctly remember them mentioning using the player's handbook. So I think they have rescinded that completely. So now you can take sort of like the kind of the this is weird. This is a great revamp, and I like it. Let me summarize it a bit. It used to be you got your subclass at level 1, and then you would get a boon of like Pact of the Blade kind of thing, like a or well, you would take a advancement in your pact at level 3 that gave you certain things. But for the most part, the stuff you were getting as you leveled up would be stuff to do with the subclass you chose at level 1. What they've done now is they've gotten rid of the subclass at level 1, but you can take what used to be the level 3 option and you can get it at level 1. Or you can dip into other stuff and take other things. So you're not actually taking, like, getting the pact boon stuff until level 3. It's weird. It's very different than how it was done before, but not in a crazy change. It lines it up better. I think it does improve the multi-classing capability in some respects, because you could make a paladin with terrible strength who has a level in warlock to allow him to use his charisma modifier. Right? Like, as long as the prerequisite for the initial class isn't there. I know for multi-classing, there's always a prerequisite, but yeah, this being level 1 now is really interesting. I'm gonna have to see. The subclasses are going to be completely revamped, because this makes Hexblade very different. Hexblade has to offer something else now rather than just using the charisma modifier. So I guess we'll get to that. Simple or martial weapon, and you're proficient in it. You can use its mastery property. Yeah, this is just awesome. This is like, I want to do a Hexblade-ish, because a Hexblade was always weird lore-wise, was like you're actually in a pact with the blade itself, versus this is Pact of the Blade, right? I think, especially being able to do this at level 1, this is just sweet. And then be able to choose if it is you can cause necrotic, psychic, radiant, or normal damage, or it's normal damage. So yeah, you can go full on like rapier duelist and stick them with the pointy end and do piercing, but that's not working. So I'm going to use necrotic against this guy, or I'm going to use radiant, and you can decide on the hit. So you're not stuck with, oh, I went necrotic, and now anytime I fight undead, I'm screwed. Yeah, everything about this is awesome. Pact of the Chain. Interesting. Holy crap. They have completely revamped all this stuff. Prerequisites none. You can take this as level 1. You have to be level 2 to take Pact of the Chain. Cast as an action without expending a spell slot. I believe you also then don't use the components, if my memory serves. When you cast a spell, you choose one of the normal forms of a familiar or one of the following: Imp, Pseudo Dragon, Additionally, when you take the attack action, you can forgo one of your attacks to allow your familiar to make one attack of its own with its reaction. Weird. But again, you can take Pact of the Blade at level 1, get Pact of the Chain at level 2, so then when you are if you only have one attack, then it goes through your familiar, who's probably, if you're a warlock, going to be stronger than you. If you are multi-classing and say you're a fighter, again, it'd be more, then at that point, more advantageous to not do this, but you could have it attack. Okay. Cool. And then Pact of the Tome, none. Pact of the Tome is level 1. Holy crap. I like it. You conjure a spellbook in your hands at the end of a short or long rest. Choose 2 level 1 spells that have a ritual tag. The spells can be from any class's spell list. Yes. And must be spells you don't already have prepared. While the spells you have the chosen spells prepared, you can function as a warlock. Is that new, or am I just terrible at my warlock? I mean, it could be. Yeah. So originally, otherworldly patron, like your subclass, you pick level 1, and then the level 3, you pick a pact boon. Pact boon. I went with Pact of the Tome. They don't. You cast cantrips at will. They don't count against them. If they don't appear on your warlock spell list, they are. Oh. I understand now. So this is completely different. I know what I'm getting mixed up in my head. I need the invocations list. I'm getting this mixed up with Book of Ancient Secrets that allows you to cast the ritual spells. So this Pact of the Tome now has 2 level 1s included in it. Is there no Book of Ancient Secrets? I need to actually go back now. Because it might be the case that they've, again, combined a few things together. So you have more options because you can take more stuff. Because this doesn't allow you to add more stuff to it. Yeah, Book of Ancient Secrets isn't here. Did they mention that? Agonizing peace speech. Yeah, they don't mention it. I wonder if it's because this is changes since the previous, and they didn't have it in like the previous one or something. But it sounds like Book of Ancient Secrets is gone. But yeah, because you can take Pact of the Tome and Pact of the Chain and Pact of the Blade if you really want to. You gain level 1 spell slot. Once you expend it, you gain another slot from this feature until you finish a long rest. So this gives you 2 level 1 spells that have the ritual tag that you can. They count. Unlike the Book of Ancient Secrets, where you can only cast them as rituals, I'm fairly certain. Yeah, because originally in that you can't cast these spells unless they are except as rituals, unless you've learned them through some other means. So these ones you can cast, but and as a warlock spell, and you get a level 1 spell slot to just cast them. But then they are also ritual spells that you have access to. So you can end the. I believe it sounds like they might have just given warlocks ritual casting, which I don't believe they normally have, originally, but I could be wrong. All of my ritual spells are in my book on my warlock. So, but yeah, this is completely different. I dig it. All right. Repelling Blast still uses Eldritch Blast only. Thirsting Blade. Extra attack with your packed weapon. Oh, that's actually really nice. I don't know if this is how Thirsting Blade used to work, but it's just instead of having to take another invocation to give you a third attack, it just gives you one at level 11. Ooh, 3 attacks as a warlock without having to take an extra invocation. I don't remember it. Yeah, I think you had to before. I can't even remember if you could get 3 attacks. I've never played one that high. Yeah, that major changes. I'm gonna have to come back because I have to be at work in an hour and I need to eat and shower before then. So I'm gonna do subclasses next time. Though you and YouTube land, I'll probably end up just combining it. Yeah, liking what I'm seeing so far. I did like that they were doing a complete overhaul, and now this feels more like my summary without seeing the subclasses is it's an overhaul without completely reinventing the wheel, or in the case of the previous one, making the same wheel as everything else on the car. Warlock still has its very unique get stuff back on a short rest, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I like what I'm seeing. They're getting rid of a few things that were like useless. The pacts being, I am intrigued at the fact that the pacts don't have. Oh, and this is interesting. I'm intrigued that the pacts don't have a level prerequisite, and that you just get them and you can have as many of them as you want. I'm actually surprised it doesn't have that you can only have one, but at the same time they don't synergize really well. So, but I will be interested to see, because again, level 1, if all you want is Agonizing Blast, taking 1 level of Warlock now is the answer. Because previously you got invocations at level 2, so if you wanted invocations, you had to wait. Now, they did make the Pact Boons an invocation, but they've also given you an extra invocation by the look of it. And I think in the end, there's 2 more. But level 1 used to have 0, then 2, 2, 2. So you didn't get 3 until you were 5th level. Now, it's still 3 at 5th level, but one of those is potentially your pact. You don't have to take one, or like pact of the, not like your warlock pact. Interesting. Again, in every level you can. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at spell slot levels. Invocations. Oh man, it's been a day. You end up with 5. Okay, so because before you would end up with 3 at level, or 4 at level 5, right? Yeah. So they have upped them. They've made them better, and you get more of them. I was not expecting that. Warlock did need a lot of help, especially with some of the power creep that's happening on these other classes. 1 level of Warlock is now more powerful than ever. Cool. And Warlock itself now seems to be more powerful than ever, as long as the subclass stuff follows suit. Yeah, like getting 2 invocations at level 5, like that makes, because again, looking at level 5, although the spell slot level goes up too, so okay. Yeah, and Pact of the Blade at level 1, right? This again makes for I want to do a level 1 or 1 level dip into what used to be Hexblade. It's still there because you can take Pact of the Blade at level 1. You don't get all of the Hexblade stuff, but you get all of the Pact of the Blade stuff plus a bit of the Hexblade flavor. I'm actually curious. Tinfoil hat, or like the least tinfoil hat conspiracy of all time. They play Baldur's Gate 3. This is how Pact of the Blade works in that is you get like it you can be a fiendish warlock with Pact of the Blade, and you get most of the benefits of what people would want from Hexblade. So I'd be actually curious if Hexblade is dead. Now, this is one of the cases where because they are revamping this class completely, I don't know if like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything subclasses and stuff will work for this class, which is why I'm so confused as to why they're backtracking on a bunch of the changes, because they are making some pretty drastic changes. Making all subclasses happen at level 3 means certain subclass features from certain books won't work anymore, but certain subclasses from other books will in certain classes. At the same time, 2 big things I'm seeing. One, multi-classing in Warlock. Man, do it. Take 1 level in Warlock. As a caster, you can take was it Pact of the Tome? I don't feel like scrolling all the way down. Pact of the Tome, I believe, was level 1. I think it's level 2 is Pact of the Chain. But take Pact of the Tome, gets you an extra level 1 spell slot that you get at the cost of, because like taking a level in a weird caster like this does take away from the spell slots you get from your other classes. And gets you other cantrips and stuff. Like it just really opens up some things, as well as the cantrips from this class, the prepared spells from this class, and taking Eldritch Blast with a, no, I take that back. If you're doing a caster and if you're going to take Eldritch Blast, only need 1 in this. Again, as a melee fighter, being able to take Pact of the Blade and like channel your Eldritch energy through the blade, blah blah. 1 level in Warlock is now brilliant for a multi-class, and then we'll have to see if this level 3 Warlock subclass is worth getting 3 levels in Warlock, because it always used to be awkward where like level 1 in Warlock, like a single level in Warlock, you would almost always take 2, because if you're doing a single level in Warlock, you would want you're doing it for Eldritch Blast, and you are wanting Agonizing, I believe is the one for it, where now you can take that. You don't get as many extra cool stuff because you actually don't this actually because it both nerfs and improves, because you don't need 2 levels in Warlock to get Agonizing Blast. However, if you take 2 levels in it, you get extra invocations, so that's sweet. But then you need to take 3 levels to get the subclass. You don't get the subclass for just taking 1 level, but the invocations at level 1 are way better. I'm liking everything I'm seeing. Just to sum it up, mainlining Warlock is going to be better than it was before, and multiclassing in Warlock is more versatile than it was before. What more could I ask for? Other than, again, the complete revamp kind of made me happy because they were just really going. But at the same time, the complete revamp was getting rid of a lot of what Warlock made Warlock cool and interesting. I take it back, Wizards of the Coast. In this case, you're not a coward. You've actually just improved on the class. As long as the subclasses hold up, and we'll see.